Convention Center is my main man, Sergeant First Class Brand Briley on the left.
What is up?
And I am, of course, Mr. Christopher Hall, the Advertisement Affairs Chief.
For now.
I am yes,
For now. Till I take your place.
Shut up. I'm trying to introduce our guest. Thank you. I am super excited to introduce
The key to winning and getting this is just spam races.
Just for lack of better term,
Don't get close, you'll lose.
Lieutenant Colonel Mark Gates. Sir, thank you so much for stepping in. Welcome to Raleigh GalaxyCon and welcome to the squad day.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to GalaxyCon 2021. Glad to be here. Beautiful Raleigh, North Carolina. Great to be a part of this outstanding team.
That takes away so much
time.
So, enormous transition.
Just like one
Special forces and now you're
around
the furries and
Yeah,
sports players and animated cosplayers.
Well, it's one thing I've learned in my 18-year Army career.
I got
it.
Hell no, it's fine, bro. I used to get destroyed all the time with my cousin. We were playing
You never know.
and then after that, I learned how to play the game. You just get bodied at first, and then you like train
characters. Different characters here in the United States as well.
Exactly, just so that you can make
dress,
sure that you're
wearing Army green and serve their nation abroad.
Thanks for letting me
We have quite a
I'll
lot
probably
of
be back here.
in our displays with our Matt V vehicle, also graciously loaned from the 86th Airport.
Air's forward?
The division in Fort Bragg. That's a great partnership down there in Fort Bragg, and we look forward to fostering that. We've got some outstanding paratroopers up here, very knowledgeable about the Matt V, they're manning here, and a lot of interest in that. So very thankful for General Donahue and this.
Lee helped us out with this process. We have fourth PSYOPs with us here from. Now I said SOCOM and they said SOCOM, but you told me to say USASOC.
Yes, this Florida Psychological Operations Group was assigned to the first principal, which is great. Right, which is great. The Navy Command, the United States Army Special Operations Command, SOC led by Sounds good here. Shout out to a friend of mine, Chris Stegman. Great partner down there for Friday. But I used to do pipelines with
Hey, now I want to I forgot. You know how many trucks couldn't even take down this Army truck? I hate you. Yeah, our same song.
Yep.
A long time coming to get this in our top.
Long time.
A lot of moving parts. And, big thanks to the GalaxyCon organizers as well.
Yes.
Mike, and big thanks to John, the facilities organization manager. Let's get into you, sir.
Yeah, this is
What makes you you, sir? Where are you from?
well, born, raised, and educated in the great state of Kentucky.
Kentucky!
By the way, it's not states.
Commonwealth.
Wildcats!
You graduated from the University of Kentucky. And, born, bred, and raised there, educated. Let's see what else.
Well, you said you went to the University of Kentucky. Did you know when you were while you were in college that you were going to join the Army?
Well, as a matter of fact, I did, but I did not know that I was going to make a career of it. I went to a small town high school there in Northeast Kentucky, and my mom was a school teacher, and apologize. bad etiquette there.
So now, when the VIP's phone rings, you got to kind of look at it. You never know who it is.
No, it was bad etiquette there. Got to turn off all your cellular devices before you start a podcast.
So Northeast Kentucky, mom was a school teacher.
Yeah, mom's a school teacher, and my family was from the Appalachia, Eastern Kentucky, and coal country. And, and
I've always said Appalachia.
Appalachia. I say Appalachia.
Okay.
Oh, he's from there. They can say it however he wants.
I mean, I'm from Kentucky, but I'm not from.
Yeah. So grew up there in the hills of Eastern Kentucky, running around as a young kid, and anyway, so came time to go finish up high school, and I was like, hey, what am I going to do? And I figured I had to go to college because my parents, I assumed they wanted me to. So I said, hey, how am I going to pay for this, right? So my parents, I figured my parents were willing to pay for college, but I personally just did not want them to have to take that burden on. I didn't want to be that burden to my parents. So I was, Army. I went to a guidance counselor's office one day, and they said, I said, hey, I'm filling out paperwork for scholarships and whatnot for school. And one of the scholarships happened to be a ROTC scholarship. I didn't know anything about ROTC. My high school didn't have a JROTC program. But I filled out the paperwork, submitted out a bunch of stuff. And one day, two guys in Class B Army uniform showed up and said, hey, congratulations. You got an Army scholarship. You can go anywhere in the United States. I said, what? Okay. What do I got to do? And they said, you got to do 3-year scholarship, and you go 2 for 1. You've got 4 years in the Army, active Army, and then 2 years of it can be reserve or IRR, inactive ready reserve. And I was like, okay, I don't really know what that is, but you're telling me I only got a 4-year commitment to the Army. You're going to pay for college, and that sounds like a pretty good deal.
Done. When I went to my guidance counselor in high school, she looked at me and looked at my record and said, have you considered landscaping?
Yeah.
No,
You're gonna work in a few.
exactly. I'm not doing too good.
So no, it was a unique opportunity. I got what I came to be known as a 3-year advanced designee scholarship to ROTC. I chose to go to the University of Kentucky because, again, being a Kentucky kid, born and bred, I didn't know where to go. But I guess I didn't really, reflecting on it back, I could have gone anywhere in the United States. Which, the national level ROTC scholarship could have gone anywhere. But I chose to stay home near family and friends, and went to the University of Kentucky. Walked in there and did my first year with my grandfather, who got some money from the coal company there in Eastern Kentucky. Paid for my first year of college. And, I did well enough in ROTC to keep my 3-year scholarship, and so after that, I continued on the ROTC path.
Fantastic. And so, can you explain a little bit to the people who may be considering some similar path, exactly what is ROTC?
So ROTC, the Reserve Officers Training Corps. It's similar but not the same as the JROTC, the Junior Reserve Officer Training Corps, that you find in your high schools. All services have ROTC programs, but obviously I'm more familiar with the Army ROTC programs. Unlike the JROTC programs in high schools, which are more leadership focused and community leader oriented, teaching kids, high school kids, how to be good stewards and good members of society, and teaching leadership and values. Senior ROTC programs at universities are commissioning based organizations. Their mission is to commission college graduates into the active reserve or National Guard armed forces. Again, that could be all the sister services, but
So you graduate the University of Kentucky. You're commissioned as second lieutenant,
Yep.
and then we kind of look at you now, and you literally have every single badge the Army has. Every single like I don't even know what some of them are, to be honest with you.
Not every single one, but cool little. You gotta have your 9 pieces of flair, right? That's part of the Army, right? You gotta have your flair. Some of us don't work at Applebee's, but
I was about to say
we like
TGI Fridays.
We like our TGI Fridays, right? That's Office Space, right? Great movie. But no, I thought I was going to be when I got to college. I went to the University of Kentucky, focused on civil engineering, my civil engineering degree, and that was my path. And I thought I was going to be in the Army, and I was seeking out a job as a combat engineer. I wanted to serve in the Engineer Corps, potentially go work for the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and eventually, end up in Kentucky there, working for the Corps of Engineers on bridges, dams, locks, things like that. But then life changes, right? Priorities change. I was in college when 9/11 happened, and so that kind of changed the world for everybody, right? You're sitting there, and I was on my way to college, driving with my roommate, and we heard that the planes hit the tower, and I was like, man, somebody's gonna get fired over that. That's a big accident, right? And got to college and went to the RTC department where I knew that they'd be watching the TV, and walked in, and I was like, that ain't no accident. And I was there long enough to see the second plane hit the tower, and I was like, oh man, this is it. And the news media started talking about terrorism, and I was like, this is it. This is what we're gonna do. This is what I'm gonna do for the next 20 years. Right? This is our WW2. This is our Vietnam. This is our history, our legacy, and this is what we're gonna do. And so, I decided at that moment that what was I gonna do as a civil engineer? What was I going to do as a geospatial information systems guy? What was I going to do as a forestry major? These are things I was kicking around in college. I was like, oh man, I'm going to go serve my country and fight bad guys. So I went and talked to the professor of military science and was like, hey, I was trying to sign up to be a combat engineer. Like, I want to go someplace that's I want to be on the front, right? I want to go combat infantry or armor. And so I got selected as an armor officer, and called my branch and said, I'm super excited about being an armor officer. Want to get deployed immediately. Want to get to the front. And I was commissioned in 2003, so we'd already been in Afghanistan a couple of years. We'd already kicked off things in Iraq, and I said I need to get going, right? I need to get involved. And so I said I want to be cav, and I want to be light. I want to be the cavalry, and I want to be light. Be mobile, get things done. So I didn't know what that meant, but I quickly learned that being cav and being light, cav being cavalry officer, specializing in reconnaissance. It was going to put me on my path to a beautiful Fort Hood, Louisiana.
Nice.
With the wonderful unit of the 2nd Armored Cavalry Regiment, which was currently deployed, and I set me on my path. So I was an armor officer.
Well, now hold on a second. Armor officer,
So
Green Beret,
armor officer.
that's oil and water at the mix.
Got to my unit. First thing they had said is, "Hey, this was 2004. I graduated the basic course, and got to my unit, and they were still deployed, and they were supposed to be coming home, but Second Army Cavalry Regiment was deployed in Baghdad at the time, and they got word that they were going to be extended for an indefinite amount of time, indefinite. And I said, and so when I first got to the regiment, they said, don't worry, you're not deploying. You're going to just go to the rear detachment and get ready to take your platoon and take them home. The regiment got extended. They said, who wants to go? And so I got on the first plane smoking and ended up in Wasat Province, Iraq. Met up with my platoon and took my platoon in combat there, and we continued operations, counterinsurgency operations in southeastern Baghdad and southeastern Iraq there, and Wasat Province, and counterinsurgency operations. It was great. There was a SFODA, Operational Detachment Alpha, on the FOB, the forward operating base that we were operating out of, which is an old Iraqi airfield and military base. And it's like, I saw those guys going out every night, four-wheel driving around in the dark and on four-wheelers, and I was like, those guys, that looks pretty cool, right? I'm driving around with light-skin Humvees with no doors on, and getting hit by IEDs and doing raids and stuff that felt like low-hanging fruit, right? I seen these ODA guys out there doing things, and AC-130 gunships were flying at night, and they were shooting houses, and stuff was blowing up around me, and I was like, "Who is doing this?" And they're like, "That's the SF guys." I was like, "What is that about?" And it's like, I was like, "Well, they must be doing something I'm not qualified for, right?" So I got back to second ACR and full Polk, or after a couple months deployed, and second ACR was the transition to be a striker brigade. And they were moving to Fort Lewis, Washington. And I was like, "What's that about? Striker? That's a heavy armored vehicle, actually a medium armored vehicle." I was like, "I don't want no part of that. That's heavy, mechanized. I want to be light, fast, mobile, right? And I don't want no part of that striker thing. I don't know what that's about. That's new. What do I got to do?" And all my buddies were going to Fort Lewis. They said, "Come on, man, let's go to Fort Lewis. It's going to be beautiful. Fort Lewis is awesome. The striker's going to be new. It's a cool, beautiful thing. It's going to be awesome." I'm like, "I don't know, man. It seems kind of hokey to me." And they said, "Well, you can stay here at Fort Polk and become part of the 4th Brigade, 10th Mountain Division." And
They have mountains at Fort Polk.
I'm in Fort Drum, New York, which is where the 10th Mountain Division is located. But they were standing up a brigade down there at that time. And I was like, "I don't think that's for me." And I tried to go to Korea, and my branch was like, "Your timing doesn't work out for Korea. You're going to end up, you're going to throw your timing off. And the best thing for you to do is to go to Fort Lewis." So I said, "All right, that's where my buddies are going." So I got on the train, so to speak, and went to Fort Lewis, Washington, to stand up Striker Brigade. And what else did I do? So I got there in December of 2005, and we didn't have any weapons. We didn't have any soldiers. It was just a skeleton crew. We showed up trying to stand up this unit out of nowhere, and I was like, "This is not gonna be fun. This is gonna take some time to get soldiers in from basic training and get weapons and stuff." And they said, "It's gonna be slow go, but it's gonna be good." So we wanted to show up there with a skeleton crew of senior cadre, kind of to stand up that unit. And then I went home on Christmas leave. My battalion commander, squadron commander, called me. He was like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Sir, I just got home from Christmas leave." He's like, "You want to go back to Iraq?" And I was like, "Hell yeah!"
Yeah, naturally, of course I want to go back.
And so that was December 2005 was when the Mosul Chow Hall bombing happened. Took a lot of casualties there. 1st Brigade, 25th ID. Took a lot of casualties there in Mosul, Iraq, northern Iraq, and they needed platoon leaders. And so I volunteered. Got on the next plane smoking after I got back from Christmas leave. Joined up with 1st Brigade, 25th Infantry Division, and 2nd of the 14th Cavalry Regiment. And took a striker platoon, reconnaissance platoon there in Mosul, Iraq. And spent the next 9 months running all over northern Iraq with the striker unit. And that was awesome. And I tell you, all my preconceived notions about the striker were absolutely wrong. That was a phenomenal vehicle, phenomenal. Working with phenomenal soldiers again, NCOs. I couldn't say enough. And the first time you got hit by a vehicle-borne IED, it saved all my guys' life. A few little shrapnel here and there. I was a true believer. I said this striker is worth its weight in gold. Because if I had been in that light-skinned Humvee that I was in Iraq on that first deployment, I wouldn't be sitting here today.
That's what you would know.
We got to we rolled that striker into the cache, into the fob. All 8 tires were on fire. We rolled that sucker in, and it's still rolling, still moving. Ramp was dragging the ground, and my guys were okay. Guys got their bell rung, and I just remember we were. I was taking some guys into the combat support hospital there called the cache, taking them into the cache, and this Apache gunship landed, and that pilot got out of his Apache gunship, ran over to the hospital, and as I was standing at the front door, and he's like, "You guys okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, man, we're good." He's like, "Man, that was the biggest explosion I've ever seen."
Oh my
God! I was like, "You should have been close to it. It was crazy."
He just randomly decides, "I'm just going to land my AH-64 over here and go ask this guy if he's okay."
Well, I mean, the cache was right next to the airport.
Okay,
was on the airport, on the airfield. So.
Sounds like he just pulls over to the curb and, "Hey, man!"
No, he landed it right at the airport, and walked over. And he's like, "You guys, he checked on us. That's a great thing, man. The helicopter, the gunship crews, our aviation brothers in the sky, man, they're always looking out for us. Nothing made you feel stronger on the ground than to look up and they hear that rotor wash of those gunships and the Kiowa Warriors. I used to call them little brother, big brother, right? So they had aerial weapons teams, we call them, and little brother, big brother. So the little brother and Kiowa Warrior OH-58 Deltas be running the tops of the houses, looking for bad guys, drawing fire, and that big brother, that gunship, that AH-64 Apache gunship, would just be up there, and he'd just be watching. And as soon as that quick little brother, we run around, take a little fire, that Apache gunship would slew on him and take him out.
Is there anything that's more terrifying than an AH-64 if you're the bad guys?
I mean, that thing can see a long way. It's got some powerful tools there. So, I mean, guys that support those, everything from the ground crews, the maintenance guys, I mean, the pilots. I mean, the technology that's in that is just amazing. And to be a part of those organizations, it's great. I got great friends of mine that are in the Apache world, in the aviation world as a whole. Which is Black Hawk helicopters, OH-58 Delta, Kiowa Warrior Scout helicopters. I mean, there's a lot of great technology out there in the Army. A lot of great people doing some amazing stuff. We've got the best fighting force in the Army, the best technology out there in the world, and we're unstoppable on the battlefield.
So the Striker Brigade, though, you're still not an SF.
Yeah, man. That's, so what is it? 4 or 5 years.
This is a long story.
You got a good Army story,
Right?
So got back from that tour, and I was in beautiful Fort Lewis, Washington. Right, what's not to love? Fort Lewis, Washington, there near Olympia, Washington, and Seattle.
Could you see the mountain from the post?
Oh, you can see the mountain. When the mountain is out, as they say, the mountain's out. It's a beautiful day in Fort Lewis. When Mount Rainier is out, there's not a cloud in the sky. 90 days of summer. It's beautiful Fort Lewis, Washington. The 90 days of summer, make up for the rest of the year when it's kind of gloomy and cloudy and rains a lot, right? But Fort Lewis is beautiful. It's a great installation, great post, and fantastic units out there. Joined work with Corps Air Force Base, so now it's considered called Joint Base Lewis McChord. It's a joint base out there, and had a fantastic time in Seattle, Tacoma, Washington, Olympia, Washington. There, got back from that deployment. Did all kinds of things, right? Kayak around the Puget Sound, see the whales, see bald eagles, go up to Vancouver, go skiing in Canada, and then you can hike Mount Rainier, right? You can ski Squamish Mountain. You can go hiking Mount Rainier. So I was climbing Mount Rainier one day with a buddy of mine, and there was these two dudes in fatigues, right? In camouflage fatigues. And I was like, who are these guys walking up this mountain, right? And they were, kind of on pace with us. And they got to a resting point. We got to the base camp below the summit. And they were, off to the side, like playing with some kind of a techno gadget, some kind of little laptop computer, this Palm Pilot looking thing. And I, kind of walked over and was like, "Hey, what are you guys doing?" And it was this, lieutenant colonel and a chief warrant officer from 1st Special Forces Group.
Chief warrant officer.
Unicorn. Yeah. And chief warrant officer, I think it was 4, which is even more people.
No kidding.
But yeah, they were super inviting, and I introduced myself as a soldier. I was in civilian clothes, obviously, and they were in uniform. I was like, what are you guys doing? They were proofing the route for a planned battalion level, exercise where they were competition, where they were going to bring ODAs out there and hike Mount Rainier as well. So they were kind of walking the terrain, if you will, before they brought anybody in. So they told me about SF a little bit, and I was like, that sounds like something I would be interested in, but I don't know if I'm good enough, man. I don't know if I'm strong enough. I don't know if I'm fast enough. And they said, hey, man, you thinking about it, just give it a try. Give it a try, right? And I was like, that's interesting. So, when the time came, I was like, hey, let me go talk to an SF recruiter. So I went there on Fort Lewis and talked to my SF recruiter and just put my packet together and shot that guy off in the dark. And the next thing you know, I got selected to go to assessment and selection, Special Forces assessment and selection. and had to go put myself in the test with everybody else. And,
Does that occur at Fort Lewis?
no. So that's at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. Unfortunately, suffered selection and ran out of Canton Hall, North Carolina, and right next to Fort Bragg, kind of Fort part of the Fort Bragg footprint, if you will. And so you did. Then at that time, it was 21 days, and ran all over the sand hills of beautiful North Carolina, and test yourself amongst some of the best the Army has to offer. And luckily, I was selected at the end of that. And so after that, came back, did the qualification course, which was a little less than a year long, and then ended up assigned to 5th Special Forces Group in Kentucky.
Hey, fifth group. That's where I'm from. Yeah.
Spent some time in
Beautiful Clarksville, Tennessee. That's my hometown.
What another great installation, right? Close to Nashville, Tennessee. Bought my first house there. Army provides a lot of great opportunities for people, and financially, and you can do a lot of good things. After several deployments, great combat pay there, tax free. Had a lot of I was still single. Had enough money to buy me a brand new truck and a house, and put a down payment on the house. So it was great.
So, now you're a 5th group. So for our listeners who are hopefully the generation considering service in the military, so 5th Special Forces Group, tell us. I mean, could you give us an example of the echelons of military service? Like you go from, well, I'm an infantry guy. Well, I'm a ranger. I'm a sapper. I'm a Green Beret. I'm a whatever. How does that work? What are those levels?
Well, I think there's all kinds of professions and skill sets that make up the United States Army, and they're all righteous in their own right. And signing up for special forces is just another part of that, and we're all on one team. But it's a different mission set. It's a unique mission set. Our uniforms say, our tabs say special. We're not special in that sense. We have a special mission. But we're not special people. We're just different people that have chosen to do a different job in the Army. And that job is focused around unconventional warfare, foreign internal defense, partnering with our indigenous populations and our partner nations around the world. Working with and through them to get after mutually supported national objectives.
Okay, very cool.
Hey, I see on the chat we got a shout out from Saudi.
Yes.
Shout out from Saudi Arabia, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Done a little bit of time there. Great country. Hot. Very hot.
Haven't been to Saudi.
It's hot. Lots of sand.
Remind me to tell you a story one day, sir, about the Warbler Bar in Bahrain.
Should probably do it.
Cannot do it on this podcast, but I can tell you about going to the Warbler in Bahrain.
Well, I tell you, we've got great partners in Saudi Arabia. Great partners in the Middle East. Great partners in the Arabian Peninsula there. So shout back out to listeners.
Very cool. Very cool. So, is that the end of your Special Forces journey? Because obviously,
that's just the beginning,
right?
Just the beginning, right? Just started out at the Special Forces Group, took command of an Operational Detachment Alpha, an ODA, if you will, and a 12-man team with some of the finest non-commissioned officers you'll ever meet. My team sergeant, again, I can't say the world. Just last week, I was fortunate enough to be able to attend his retirement ceremony. He's retired after 30 plus years in the United States Army. Retired as the Command Sergeant Major from the 5th Special Forces Group. And when I joined the 5th Special Forces Group, he was my team sergeant, the V8 then. And man, what a group of wonderful Americans. I can't say enough about them. So joined the 5th Special Forces Group, got the opportunity to train with them for my ODA for a year, and then deploy to combat and work on some special activities stuff to Iraq in 2010. And then came back from that operation and was asked to took transition from my attachment command time to company XO. My battalion was already deployed because my ODA was doing different things and on a different cycle. I got the call from the bullpen that my battalion commander wanted me forward again. So after about 6 months home, I volunteered to go back to Iraq and serve as an operations officer.
Round 3.
Yep. Is that 3? No, that would be round 4.
Really?
Keep count, Chris.
So it was, deployed with 2nd ACR when I first got joined the Army. Deployed with the Stryker Brigade from Fort Lewis to Mosul, Iraq. Number 3 was that deployment from the ODA in 2010. And when I got back from that, they called me back from the bullpen. Round 4.
Got it.
Back to Iraq.
Back to Iraq.
Yeah,
You're kind of a poet and you didn't know it.
back.
See where this is going.
Exactly.
I don't like it.
Back to the future. So finished out the tour with the battalion there, and then came back, and then got offered the opportunity to compete for a special job, which is the headquarters support company command job as a captain in an SF unit. You command at the ODA level. But there's special opportunities for guys that are deemed successful, and I was fortunate enough to have great leaders there that were able to see what I was doing and took note and gave me the opportunity to serve again as a company commander of a support company, the battalion support company, and 1st Battalion group. And they gave me the opportunity as a captain to serve at a higher level with more soldiers. I had about 100 soldiers under me at that time, and all different support MOSs, our enablers, our transportation, ammunition handlers, signal folks, military intelligence folks, HR, human resources folks, supply, logistics, stations, maintenance guys, all from the support. You can be you don't have to be an SF guy to be in an SF guy, right? You can be a logistician, signal, communications, military intelligence, all those enabling MOSs also serve in special forces.
Do you get the tab?
Well, you get an airborne tab because you're in an airborne unit, right? So all special forces units are airborne qualified or airborne units, and when you're a support person, you're obviously required to be in an airborne unit. You get a special identifier that identifies you as having served in a special operations unit, and right where you may be sought after to continue service in the special operations community.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And so you serving in a special operations unit, you get to be airborne qualified. You talked about all the pieces of flair I got, right? So I served in airborne qualified there. Went to jump master school as a leader in an airborne unit. 2nd Airborne or 173rd or special forces unit. As a leader, you're expected to be a jump master. And so you got to go to jump master school and learn how to do all the ins and outs of leading troops out the door and inspecting the equipment and rigging, setting up drop zones and things like that. So also went to Pathfinder School, which is a lot more drop zones and landing zone surveys and helicopter operations and medevac, setting up LCs for medevacs. And got to go to air assault school when I was there at Fort Campbell as well. Again, that's a lot about sling loading equipment underneath helicopters. You can rappel out of a helicopter, and you can run around. And,
That part I've actually done.
you get to run around and boots every time your left foot hits the
I
ground.
thought it was an air assault.
Oh, air assault. You're right.
Air assault?
Yeah, air assault.
Every time I left foot hit the ground, air assault.
Air assault. That's
Air
right.
assault.
That's right. I'm trying to think where somewhere else. I think it was Sears School. I had to run around in boots. That's what it was. At Sears School, I had to run around in boots.
Mr. Politics, we should yell use your acting.
Yes.
Anyway, continue.
Yeah. So, Fifth Special Forces Group, and had a great time there. A couple deployments, lots of good training, and that was a great time. And then from there, once you get promoted to major, you got to go. At every echelon throughout the Army, you got to go to school too. It's all about education, right? And honing your craft. basically every promotion there's a school that goes with that, right? You get officer basic course for lieutenants. You got captain's career course for captains. I had to go to captain's career course in Fort Benning, Georgia, and that was before the special forces qualification course. And then when I got promoted to major, they're like, "Hey, now it's time to go to major school." And that's called the intermediate level education, or ILE. You can do it a lot of different ways. You can go to Command General Staff College in Leavenworth, Kansas, or go to sister service education opportunities like Naval War College, things like that. I applied and was selected for the Naval Postgraduate School, NPS, in Monterey, California. It's a special program out there that that SOCOM sponsors, Special Operations Command in Tampa, Florida. They sponsor a program with partnership with the Naval Postgraduate School out there called the Special Operations Low Intensity Conflict, or the Defense Analysis Department of NPS. So I was fortunate enough to be selected for that. I didn't think there was any way, based on my college GPA, thinking about going back all the way back to 2003. My focus was the Army, and become my focus after 9/11, and my focus was not on college. So I wasn't the best student in college, but I didn't come out of there with the best GPA. So I thought, no, there's no way that the Naval Postgraduate School, whatever that is going to select me to be it. I was wrong. They selected me. I was like, this is awesome. I don't know what it is, but I'm scared to death. I have to go get a master's degree.
Yeah.
That sounds impossible. I am not an academic by nature, and I don't like to read books. And but I'm going to have to figure it out, right? So my buddies that were going with me were like, you just got to do it, man. So we got out to beautiful Monterey, California.
Wouldn't you rather go to Leonard Wood, Missouri?
No, not Leonard.
Excuse me, not Lost in the Woods. Doggone Leavenworth.
Leavenworth, Kansas.
Yeah, Leavenworth.
So you would think, right? So
yeah.
I was talking to a girl. And she was a sister of a good friend of mine. And I was talking to a girl I liked, and she lived in Kansas City.
Oh, now hang on a second.
And I said, I got this girl I'm talking to. Don't really have a relationship with her yet, but I like her, and trying to explore that option. And one of the things I told her was like, hey, I don't know what you're doing next summer, but I've applied for 2 programs. One of them is in Fort Leavenworth, Kansas, Command General Staff College. And one of them is in the Naval Postgraduate School in Monterey, California. One of them is 12 months at Leavenworth, and one of them is 18 months in California. Either way, whatever I'm selected for, I'm going to be driving through Kansas City, either on my way to one. And we can link up, have dinner, and go out. And she was like, all right, that's cool. And so I got selected for Naval Postgraduate School. And I said, all right, I'm driving through, and we'll link up. So I linked up, we hung out, had a great time. And I said, well, it was great. I don't know how to make this thing keep going because I got to go to California for 18 months. But if you want to continue to talk, maybe you can come out to California and visit a few times. I hear it's nice, and let's stay in touch. So I rolled out to Monterey, and there I was in Monterey, California, and I kept that relationship going. And she flew out to California a few times, and then I had to make a drug deal with her to keep that relationship going. And that drug deal was, if she stuck with me through this long distance relationship for 18 months while I was in Monterey, I would try my damnedest to get assigned to Fort Leavenworth for a year. Followed that because I knew a program that I might be able to apply for. It was pretty tough, right? Now I didn't know if I was smart enough to get selected for it, but I thought I'd try it. And that's the School of Advanced Military Studies, SAMS, at part of the Command General Staff College. It's kind of a second year, another master's degree producing program there at Fort Leavenworth. And so it's going to be tough, but I'm a glutton for punishment, and I'm going to apply for it. So while I was at Naval Postgraduate School, I applied for SAMS, and unfortunately, I got selected. So I went to Leavenworth for a year, dated my girlfriend continued to date my girlfriend, and at the end of that, I asked her to marry me, and married my wife, and now we moved to Fort Bragg after that.
I'm so glad that woman ended up to be your wife, because if it hadn't been, and you just kept going on about it, Jesus, this is awkward.
She left me.
Army's not good for relationships.
Nope.
No, just kidding. It is. It's great.
No, it's.
I was getting some anxiety for a second.
No,
You knew it was going to work out well. It's like one of those movies. You know it's going to end well.
No, it speaks to and I just say all that to speak to the fantastic opportunities that the Army provides, right? The travel, the education that the Army's provided. I've been able to get 2 master's degrees, and found my wife along the way, and it's been great.
That's fantastic. And then from Fort Bragg, you came here.
So I moved from Kansas City to Fort Bragg, and continued my SF career there with the 1st Special Warfare Training Group, part of as an instructor in the not as an instructor, but I was an operations officer for Special Activities Training Battalion. We're not in the pipelines, so to speak, but we're that was part of the company there, the battalion that trained special skills to the active duty special forces, special operations groups, and interagency partners as well. Special activities space. Battalion operations officer. Then I was fortunate enough to be selected as a company commander. Commanded the company that was responsible for sensitive site exploitation and some intelligence and analysis, technical surveillance type stuff. Learned some amazing stuff there, and then was fortunate enough to be selected as the group executive officer for the 1st Special Warfare Training Group. Served as the group executive officer there. Learned a lot about contracts and accountability and money and readiness, all kinds of stuff there. And kept moving to Fort Bragg, continued my special operations career there. Was selected to go work at the Joint Special Operations Command there at Fort Bragg, and spent 3 years at the Joint Special Operations Command as an operations officer, and learned a lot of cool things there, and serving our nation at the highest levels, and then was fortunate enough to be selected by the Army to be a battalion commander. And can't say enough great things about being selected for the serve this nation in the recruiting role, serve the Army to recruit the next generation of fighting force.
Yeah.
In Raleigh, North Carolina.
And so, Raleigh, North Carolina.
Best place ever.
It's not bad.
I like Raleigh.
Yeah. I haven't liked it in the last 2 days because it is brutal hot here the last 2 days. But yes, the 140 miles up the road is really going to change all that environment so much, right?
Hey, shout out to our listeners. We got any questions from
who's got questions? Questions? We got the boss man right here, the battalion commander of the Raleigh Battalion, who has had an absolutely crazy career. If you guys have questions, post those questions in the chat.
If you don't feel comfortable doing that, you can just post it on social media and we can address them later.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Anybody out there interested in joining the Army?
I know it's great.
So, sir, one thing we try to do, we always try to humanize our listeners, our guests for our listeners. What are your hobbies? What do you do when you're not, long tabbing?
Well, I told guys when I came into this command, I used to have a lot of hobbies, but I just had a 9-month-old child, my first child, 9 months ago.
Congratulations!
Brand new little baby. I'm super excited to get home to. He's on a little trip with mom right now. Comes home for spend some quality time together. But with him, he's my hobby now. I don't have any other hobbies. My hobby now is trying to figure out how to be a dad. But I'll entertain the question with what did I used to do, right? When I was single, I had all kinds of great hobbies. I was an avid scuba diver. Loved scuba diving, been all over the United States scuba diving, freshwater, saltwater off the coast. Certified. Have to be certified to be a scuba diver. We're a rogue scuba diver. No, advanced underwater, open water guy, dry suit qualified, nitrox qualified. What else? I've done a little wreck diving, and we did. I've dealt with the USS Oriskany off the coast of Panama City. That was the aircraft carrier they sank down there to turn into an artificial reef. That's the aircraft carrier that John McCain flew off of in Vietnam when he was shot down.
Wow.
It's a pretty surreal experience. I dived that down the con tower at 70 feet. Flight deck, I think it was at 120 feet down. Beautiful thing. But scuba diving, I like to road bike. Got my own little road bike. Get out on the road and just turn the gears. And
A Trek or a Cannondale?
it's a specialized.
Specialized.
Full carbon.
Man, my stepbrother was all about road racing. He had a Trek. He had several Treks, and he did all of this. He would go all over the dang old place. I'll tell you that.
I had a buddy that was a huge triathlon kind of guy. He loved doing all sorts of things. And I tagged in with him one time. He convinced me to go do this duathlon. For those who don't know, duathlon is a triathlon. Duathlon is involved with swimming. It's a 2-mile run, 26-mile bike ride, something like that, and then another 2-mile run. I'm not sure. I was around this one. I had never ridden a road bike before that duathlon. And I'll tell you that almost killed me. It was fun.
Awesome. So we always also ask this question: what's your favorite food?
KFC.
You gotta love the Colonel.
The Colonel is Sergeant Briley's great grandfather.
He is not my great
Yes, he is.
grandfather.
I too am a Kentucky Colonel.
Yes.
Not a Kentucky Lieutenant Colonel, an actual Kentucky Colonel.
Does that make you a K6?
Just like the Colonel himself, right? I don't have a single chicken recipe. But, anyway, no favorite food. It's got to be just a great steak. But I also can't pass up just good old pizza. I love pizza.
No, hold on, dude. Pizza can be so many things. You talking like floppy New York? You talking deep Chicago? You talking like Jets with the crispy crunch? How do you like the pizza?
I like the variety. I like lots of toppings. I like to get my 4 food groups, all together in there. Some people don't like leaving fruit on a pizza. I don't mind a pineapple.
No.
Some people are anti-fruit on pizza.
I can't work for you. I can't.
Plain pizza all day.
I feel like more toppings are better.
Yep, sure.
I thought I knew this.
Oh, you're leaving.
Yeah, I'm leaving, so who cares?
I think we also need to ask the question, what are the most about Galaxy? Yeah, well, that's a question you should ask.
Yeah, it's specific.
What I'm looking forward to the most is getting to know more about getting to meet wonderful people in North Carolina, and really looking forward to seeing the soldiers out here telling their Army story, and finding those people that are interested in serving their country as well. And looking forward to our success here, and looking forward to other events like this to really drive the success of the recruiting and accession mission of the Army.
It's fantastic. So, Briley, you got anything else for the Colonel? Sir, you got anything for us?
I'm looking for another question in the chat. I like a shout out from Saudi Arabia. It's the last thing we got. Is our friend from Saudi Arabia still out there?
Can we see how many we've got?
One on Facebook, one on Twitch.
Who wants to say something?
This will also be posted on SoundCloud later, sir, so people can reply to that. So just because we're here now doesn't mean we're not going to live in perpetuity. So when we edit it all down and it goes to SoundCloud in multiple episode types for the GalaxyCon Master episode.
Yes.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
Awesome. This is a great experience, and definitely appreciate you guys putting this together. And look forward to talking to you guys some more.
Excellent.
All right. Are we done?
I think we go ahead and take a break, and I think we need to bring Lance back in here and tell him, how do you get in touch with Raleigh Recruiting Battalion? We'll see you soon.
Yes.